At lunch, I thought it was going to be just another normal Sunday. Table set, rice, roast chicken, my 8-year-old daughter sitting next to me with her hair still messy from the morning, and my wife on the other side, with that look I already knew. When she began to measure everything she saw as goods, values, and advantages. I worked hard. I always worked. Since I was 15 years old in the United States, every single thing I've achieved has come with sweat. My house, my used car, my savings, life insurance, the will I made when my daughter was still crawling. All of this had a reason, to ensure that she would never be in need if I could not be there one day. My girl was the reason for everything. But that day, I realized that my wife didn't see it that way. She only saw numbers. I was cutting a piece of chicken for my daughter's plate when she forcefully dropped her fork on the table and said loudly, "She doesn't deserve any inheritance." The phrase fell into the air like a punch. My daughter stopped with her hand on top of the napkin and looked at me, confused. I felt my blood boil. I felt my chest tighten, but I breathed. She continued in a cold voice as if she were talking about a stranger. "It doesn't make sense for you to leave everything to this child. She doesn't even know how to value it. When you grow up, you don't even know if she'll see you." I looked at my daughter. Hire was already shining with tears. She barely understood certain words, but he understood the attack. She understood that someone was saying that she was not worthy of her father's things. Before I could answer anything, my daughter turned her face to me and asked in a low and trembling voice, "What is inheritance, Dad?" That was like a stab. A child shouldn't have to ask these kinds of questions because of adult greed. I put my hand on her shoulder and replied, looking straight at my wife, "Inheritance is what you will never have. My respect." My wife widened her eyes as if I'd said something unforgivable. But the one who really did something unforgivable, there was not me. She tried to fix it, said, "I just want the best for us," but it was a lie. She wanted the best for herself. My daughter wiped her eye with the sleeve of her blouse, trying to look strong. And it was at that moment that something screamed inside me. I was silent for years, listening to small teasing, emotional blackmail, attempts by her to diminish my bond with my daughter. But there, I stopped being a victim. I became an observer. I realized that it hadn't started at that table. She spoke badly about my daughter behind her back. She said that I spent too much thinking about her. He questioned medical appointments, clothes, school. She couldn't stand that the girl had space in my heart. It was jealousy and greed mixed. "She's going to grow up and forget you," my wife once said. And I just replied, "Even if it happens, I never forget my duty." We think we know who we are sharing a life with, until we realize that the person next to us is imagining a life without us, but with our money. I took a deep breath, calmly took my glass and said, "You talk as if you own everything I built." She gave a crooked smile and replied, "After we got married, this is ours." The cool way she said "our" sounded like a threat. She spoke as if she had time with my daughter, as if he had spent sleepless nights taking care of a fever. She never took my daughter to school. He never participated in the presentations. She never knew her best friend's name, but he wanted to take the place of the one he truly loved. I didn't have to win by shouting. That's when I felt I had the advantage she would never have: truth and documents. I already had everything ready before getting married again. I already knew that love can change, but responsibility cannot. The little girl next to me was my family before any ring on the finger, and I protected that as best I could. I looked at my daughter again and said, "Inheritance is when a father leaves to his daughter what is rightfully hers." She nodded slowly, still not understanding everything. My wife was bothered by my calmness. "Do you think I'm silly?" she teased. I just watched. She was in a hurry. I had time. She had greed. I had the documents. The knife scratched the plate, and the silence between each sentence seemed full of new truths. My daughter leaned closer to me, and there, as the chicken cooled, I knew that this conversation was still just beginning, and that before lunch was over, she was going to find out exactly who she was messing with. I continued to sit there, looking at her as if observing an enemy that finally reveals itself. She thought that that sentence would simply bring me down, that I would swallow another humiliation in the name of family peace. But the peace she spoke of was never real peace. It was forced silence. It was me keeping quiet so as not to let my daughter see how much she wore me out. But my girl wasn't stupid. Children feel everything, and in that instant, she felt that someone wanted to take her out of my life. My wife folded her arms and said she was tired of living in the shadow of a child. I couldn't believe what I heard. "This house is not a playground," she added, as if that girl who was barely over 8 years old was getting in the way of her plans. I watched, letting her speak. When a person shows who they really are, the best reaction is to pay attention. My daughter pulled up my shirt and said quietly, "Did I do something wrong?" I held her hand and replied without letting go of the woman in front of me, "You didn't do anything wrong." Who was wrong was just one person there. From that day on, things began to become even clearer. She woke up complaining about the girl's presence. He said that everything had to be according to his rules. Fiancé took my daughter's notebook, saw a drawing in which she and I were, and asked why she hadn't drawn her stepmother. "Because you're never with me," was my daughter's simple response. I saw in my wife's eyes the wound on her ego. It was not wounded love. It was scratched pride. She began to insinuate that I was exaggerating school expenses. He asked why put it in a good school if anyone is the same. I didn't like the way she said any. My daughter deserved the best, and I fought for years for her to have it. There was a day when she tried to diminish the value of my time with the girl. "You've been divorced for years, you don't have to be all this dedication anymore." I replied, "I don't dedicate time out of obligation. I dedicate it because she is my daughter." Chet twisted her face as if it were a competition. Anyone who thinks that affection is currency lives waiting for change. I never had to ask my father for anything, but it taught me that when we love, we leave everything organized. Maybe that's why, in the year my daughter was born, I had already made my will, half of everything in her name, the rest in a fund saved for your college. When I became a widower, everything I did afterwards was to ensure that she had a future. My wife knew that I had assets, but she did not know how they were distributed, and that consumed her. The money she wanted was never enough. She wanted power. I wanted to be the only one, but it wasn't, and it never would be. She began to pretend affection around others, but alone with me she spoke with venom. "Do you really think this girl will remember this when she grows up? When to get a boyfriend? When he has his own life?" And I thought, even if she follows her own path, I have fulfilled mine. She wanted me to believe that father's love is something fragile, disposable, but true love doesn't expire. She was sure that in time she would convince me to change everything at the registry office. I let her believe. Sometimes the best strategy is to let the enemy think they're winning. I had already seen documents disappear in other people's homes. I had heard stories of stepmothers who took advantage of trust. I was never naive. Therefore, everything that matters was stored away from home. She never came close. I remember one time she asked about life insurance. He tried to get information as if it were just curiosity. "You put who as the main beneficiary?" she asked, giving a smile that didn't fool me. I replied, "My daughter. It always has been and always will be." She turned her face as if she were being slapped. And that's when she started trying to manipulate me emotionally. He said that I was stuck in the past, that I didn't have the courage to build something new alongside her. It was not a lack of courage. It was a presence of lucidity. I might have been married to her, but my heart, my priorities, and my sense of duty remained exactly where they had always been, with those who deserve it, and I already knew that the day of truth was going to come. My daughter, even though she was small, started to move away when she was around. Child perceives heavy weather. My wife started having jealousy attacks even when I looked at old photos. She couldn't stand anything that referred to a life in which she wasn't included, and I realized that she didn't want to be part of the family. She wanted to rewrite the family, erasing whoever was in front. But there is one thing she has never been able to take away from me: my calmness. My weapon has always been silence. I knew that the more she talked, the more she would surrender. She thought I was comfortable, but I was waiting for the exact moment to show that, when a father protects his daughter, there is no force capable of preventing it. As the weeks went by, she became more and more daring. She began to give orders, inside the house, as if she were the owner of everything. I told my daughter to remove the plate from the table before finishing eating. He said that children did not need to feel comfortable all the time. I would come home from work and find my girl locked in her room because her noise got in the way. I asked what happened, but she didn't speak. He just held my arm tightly. Children keep what they feel, but the body delivers. My wife said that I exaggerated, that she just wanted discipline. But discipline is not born of humiliation. I grew up without any luxury, and yet I was never treated as a nuisance. My daughter didn't deserve that kind of life. One day I found her notebook with a torn page. I asked why. She said she had drawn our family, and my wife tore the page out saying it was wrong. My daughter cried and said that her stepmother said that family was now just me and her, pointing to herself, erasing an 8-year-old child with words. I felt a lump in my throat. It was there that I made the decision. It was no longer about inheritance. It was about protecting my daughter's soul. The following Sunday, I invited my parents to lunch with us. My wife was uncomfortable, but feigned sympathy. She always did this when she had an audience. My parents brought some gifts for the girl, nothing expensive, just affection in the form of objects. A blouse, a children's book, a simple necklace. I saw my wife twist her mouth when she realized that my daughter was loved by people she wanted to compete with. My mother commented on the girl's future, on how fast she was growing, how good it was that I was always thinking about ensuring a safe life for her. My wife couldn't stand it and blurted out, looking straight at me, "I just hope this security isn't being wasted." My father frowned. My mother asked her what she meant by that. She laughed and said that children don't need luxury, that money had to be used responsibly by those who know how to make choices. And then she made sure to look at my daughter with disdain. I shook my girl's hand under the table, and she held it as if she was protecting herself from the world. My parents realized it right away. My mother, who has always been direct, said, "No money in the world is worth more than a child knowing that he or she is loved and valued." My wife replied with that tone of falsehood that I hated. Of course, I'm just saying that when she grows up she'll move on with life, and then... Why so many attachments? My father took a deep breath. I saw in his eyes that he was holding back his irritation. I just thought I was getting close to the right time. She was so concerned with showing control that she didn't realize how she was exposing herself. When lunch was over, my parents left, hugging me tightly. My mother looked at my daughter and said, "You will always be your father's priority. Never forget." My wife rolled her eyes, but I noticed that it moved her. When we closed the door, her smile disappeared. She turned to me and said, "Your parents need to understand that the decisions of this house go through me as well." I stood still, and she added, "This girl can't keep everything. I also have the right." She spoke as if she were real, as if the mere fact of being married to me gave her ownership of what I built before she existed in my life. I walked slowly to the bookshelf and picked up a blue folder. She looked at me suspiciously. "What's that?" she asked. I put the folder on the table calmly. I opened it and showed only the first sheet. The title clearly said, "Testament." My daughter's name was just below. She widened her eyes, as if discovering that she never had control. "This has been around for a long time, before you even came into my life." She tried to laugh, but her voice failed. "You can change that," she said. I replied, "I don't want to change." She approached, trying to get the papers, but I pulled them calmly. "If you try to hide documents, tear up, destroy, or manipulate anything related to my daughter, you leave this house on the same day." She was speechless. For the first time, she understood that I was no longer willing to tolerate any attack on my girl. It was at that moment that she, nervously, said what she really carried from the beginning. "If you die tomorrow, everything stays with her. And what do I get?" I looked her in the eye and replied, "You stay with the life you chose to live, the one that doesn't include destroying the love between a father and his daughter." She couldn't bear to hear it. He turned his back and slammed the door of the room. My daughter came up to him and asked if her stepmother was leaving. I didn't know the answer yet, but I knew that something had moved around. My daughter leaned her head against my chest and said, "I don't want you to die." I hugged him and replied, "I'm not going to die anytime soon, but if one day I'm gone, the love I feel for you will continue to take care of you." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. I knew that her war was not against me. It was against a person who never understood that family is not measured by advantage. I was ready. The turning point was coming, and she had no idea what was coming. That night, the silence of the house seemed heavier than ever. I sat on the edge of my daughter's bed, and she held my hand tightly, as if she was afraid that I too would disappear. She asked if I still loved my stepmother. I couldn't answer right away. How do you explain to a child that love is not the problem, but the lack of character of someone who doesn't know how to love anyone but themselves? I just said that sometimes people get lost when they choose money as a compass. She looked at me confused, so I simplified. There are people who prefer to have things than to have peace. She nodded and, without understanding much, said, "But we have peace, right, Dad?" I smiled, but inside it hurt. I knew that the peace she felt was just the peace I could still protect. I kissed her forehead and said, "We're going to keep having it, daughter. I promise." The next day I got up early. I prepared coffee, packed my clothes, and got my daughter ready for school. My wife came downstairs with a cold face. He didn't even look at the girl. He pretended that she didn't even exist. When the school bus stopped, my daughter hugged me tighter than usual. I felt that she didn't want to go, but I needed to work. I needed to maintain the routine as if nothing had fallen apart. As soon as I closed the door, my wife said, "You think you're going to solve everything with a lot of paper, right? But people change wills all the time." I stopped and answered without raising my voice. "Time is the one who changes character. Will, no." She laughed disdainfully, but her gaze betrayed anger. I realized that the seed of hatred was already planted. She was going to try to do something. For weeks, I watched his movements. I noticed strange calls, visits to the bank, questions about lawyers. I didn't react. I just watched. One day, when I got home early, I found her going through my drawers. She said she was looking for important documents. I replied, "The only important documents are already where they need, Toby." She pretended not to understand, but I noticed the despair on her face. That confirmed to me that I was right to never leave anything inside that house. My trust had down address, and it wasn't there. Greed has a funny way of betraying intentions. It never knows how to disguise it when it realizes it won't win. That same week, I received a call from my lawyer. He told me that a woman had tried to set up a meeting claiming to be my legal representative. Obviously, he didn't authorize anything and warned me immediately. I thanked him. It was the kind of confirmation I needed. Her mask was about to fall. When I returned home that day, she was waiting for me in the living room with a glass of wine in her hand. He feigned tranquility. "We need to talk," he said. I sat down. She began a rehearsed speech, saying that she loved me, that she was only concerned about the future. "You know, people die all of a sudden and I don't want to be caught off guard." I took a deep breath and asked, "You want security, don't you?" She answered yes so quickly that she denounced her own guilt. So I said, "The security you want, you'll never get, because trust once broken is not rebuilt with excuses." She was silent. 2 days later, she left home early and returned late. He said he was resolving personal issues. I already knew what it was. I was trying to find out if there was any loophole to contest my will. But what she didn't know is that I had already done more than that. My lawyer had recordings, dates, signatures, and an additional document reinforcing my daughter's protection in case of any dispute. I had it all tied up. That night, while she slept, I sat on the porch and thought about how greed eats away at people. I remembered my first wife, my daughter's mother, and how she had a pure heart. She died early, but she left in me the teaching that sustained me to this day. It's not what you give your daughter that protects her, that's what you teach. And what I was about to teach was that no one steals the place of those who were truly loved. The next morning, my daughter ran to hug me before going to school. She seemed lighter. I think that even without understanding everything, she felt that something bad was coming to an end. I looked at my wife for the last time that day and noticed the emptiness in her eyes. It was the look of someone who realized that he lost the war before it even started. I went out to work, but deep down I already knew. When I came back, nothing would be the same. The truth sooner or later always arrives. And when he arrives, he cleans everything that was dirty, even the air inside the house. When I returned home that day, I was already prepared. My daughter arrived a few minutes after my car. She got off the bus, ran to me and hugged me as if she had been waiting for that moment all day. I held her hand as we walked to the door. My wife was in the living room, sitting on the couch, with her phone in her hand and an open briefcase next to her. I recognized that folder. They were copies of documents that she tried to obtain. Useless copies because she never had access to what really mattered. When she saw me enter with the girl, she closed the briefcase too quickly, as if there was still any chance of hiding it. I didn't say anything. I took the backpack off my daughter's back and asked her to go upstairs and take a shower. As soon as my daughter disappeared down the stairs, I leaned against the door and stared at the woman who one day I believed I could add up, but who in fact only tried to share. She started talking first. She said she was tired of being treated as a foreigner inside her own home, that all she wanted was to ensure a safe future for both of us. I let her finish. Then I sat slowly in the armchair in front of her. My calmness made her change her tone. She said it wasn't fair for me to leave everything to a kid who doesn't even know what to do with money. Those words didn't hit me anymore, but they still hurt when I thought of my daughter hearing something like that. I took a deep breath and replied, "Money is not a prize, it's responsibility. And my responsibility is with her." She tried to get up, but I gestured with my hand to keep her seated. It was not a threat. It was closure. I explained everything in a straightforward manner. He said he already knew about the lawyer, about the calls, about the attempts to discover legal loopholes. He also said that there were no loopholes, that the will was protected and that nothing she tried would change that. She stood up once again and said she wasn't going to give up. So I said, with all the firmness that a father can have, "You have nothing to dispute here. This was never about you." Her silence was the confession I needed. She understood, and understanding hurt. The truth usually hurts more when it comes too late. That same night I saw her packing. She said she was going to her sister's house for a few days. I didn't argue. I only replied that if she walked through the door carrying any hostility against my daughter, she would never return. She stopped, looked at me, and realized that I was no longer giving in. I was no longer afraid of the consequences. The door closed behind her without drama. No screaming, no tears. The noise of the latch marked the end of an illusion. My daughter came down the stairs with small steps, looking at me as if asking if the danger has passed. I took her in my arms even though she was not so small anymore. She asked if I was going to be sad without my stepmother. I replied, "I feel sad for those who choose the wrong path, but I'm happy to protect those who deserve it." She leaned her head against my shoulder, and her relief was the greatest reward of all. Some people think that inheritance is money. For me, inheritance is what you leave in the heart of those you love. My daughter will grow up knowing that a father does not hide behind excuses, does not sell love, does not allow anyone to treat her as less. She will know that every decision of mine was made so that she could live without fear of being who she is. The following week, I set up a meeting with my lawyer. We've updated a few details. I reinforced everything even more in my daughter's name. When we signed the papers, I felt a peace that had not come for a long time. At the end of it all, I looked at my daughter playing in the backyard, and I was sure. My legacy is not in a house, in a car, or in a bank account. It's in the smile she gives when she knows she's protected. It's in the security she feels when she holds my hand. And it's in the courage she's going to have in the future. Because one day, I showed her that love conquers fear. Sometimes the best answer is written in a notary's office. Other times it is given in silence. Today, looking at my life, I understand. My greatest inheritance is not what I leave to my daughter. It's who she becomes because I stayed. And if it were you, would anyone decide who deserves the love of their own home?